Most visitors to Death Valley, certainly all first-timers, go down to Badwater because of its reputation as the lowest point in North America, so it's almost a mandatory must-see location. Most visit the little pond after which Badwater is named, and then walk out onto the salt flats, some with a ranger on a guided walk, some with friends and family, all of which provides a sense of the immensity of Death Valley. Visitors can happily walk for miles onto the salt pan, and even where the salt hasn't been trampled and flattened by countless others, walking is usually still easy and safe. Most probably don't notice the salt polygons lying off the beaten path, which is a shame because they're an essential part of the story, and we'll get to that. But here at the Devil's Golf Course, things are dramatically different. You can't exactly walk, but rather you must carefully clamber over dangerously sharp salt formations that may be up to 2 or 3 feet high. And here you can see a typical size relative to my NPS hat. Seeing the salt formations up close makes it clear that you really don't want to trip and fall on these very sharp salt figures. So why are the two places, only 5 miles apart and on the same salt pan, so different at ground level? The answer lies in 3 aspects: water, elevation difference, and time. Badwater, the lowest point in North America, is only slightly but significantly lower than the Devil's Golf Course, and therein, of course, lies the essence of the story. We'll start with water, which, amazing, is plentiful in Death Valley year-round. As we leave the Furnace Creek Visitor Center and turn right for Badwater, we see a thriving mesquite bush across the road ahead of us. It's sitting right on the travertine spring that rises about a mile above the inn, goes underneath the Badwater Road here, and onto Badwater via the Devil's Golf Course. As you watch it go down and look beyond it into the valley, you see lots of mesquite trees distributed across this end of the valley, which tells you that it is well watered, fed by many springs from both east and west, this travertine spring being merely the largest one of many. In short then, there's lots of water traveling mostly under the salt surface down the valley to settle at Badwater, a vital difference with the Devil's Golf Course where it does not settle. We can see that very nicely at the Devil's Golf Course where, adjacent to the parking lot, there's an opening through the salt pan with the water being just below the salt. So, what is the significance of water running just below the salt pan? Well, if there was no water, the bottom of Death Valley would be just another dry lake bed, a playa. But that under the salt water percolates upward through the salt layer by capillary action, carrying dissolved salt with it. Then, as it reaches the surface, the water evaporates to deposit salt crystals that build up over time. And that's another essential point: it builds up over time. The same upward percolation and deposition occurs at both the Devil's Golf Course and at Badwater. But the results at the two places are different. Why is that? This is when the elevation difference plays out over time, so let's look at Badwater first. At Badwater, even when there's no obvious floodwater, there's always water on or just below the surface after normal winter rains and from the many perennial springs in the surrounding mountains. This standing water dissolves and flattens any salt buildup that has occurred. If we step just a short way from the visitor's beaten path, as it were, we can discern the shapes that begin to form when the salt later dries out and expands. These largish polygons form as the salt layer dries and expands, causing cracks where the water from below can now percolate up along the polygon boundaries and build their edges. You can see here the polygons growing in November of 2024, after floods resulting from Hurricane Hilary in 2023 had dissolved and flattened the salt landscape. Now, after drying out in the very hot summer, evaporation and expansion are beginning to form new salt polygons that will grow, separate, and then be dissolved in their turn to repeat the cycle. If the dry period lasts for a longer time, these salt deposits can really build up as shown here, but eventually are dissolved, and so the salt pan is usually passable on foot by visitors as we've seen. The situation at the Devil's Golf Course is different precisely because it doesn't have standing water, and it wasn't flooded in the heavy storms such as Hurricane Hilary because its elevation kept it above the floodwaters. thus allowing existing salt formations to be maintained and to grow. Those structures are formed by very slow crystalline depositions of the salt, bringing time into the equation because they are definitely not built up overnight. Here we have the same depositional process as at Badwater, where expanding dried salt formed separate polygons that grew into those separated structures with pathways between them. But time allowed them to grow as we see them now. The same pattern would happen at Badwater if there was no surface water dissolving the embryonic crystalline formations that are there right now. To summarize then, the differences in the landscape of Badwater and the Devil's Golf Course are due to the elevation difference that causes standing water at Badwater to dissolve new formations, while lack of standing water at the Devil's Golf Course allows constant growth of formations subject only to occasional rain and constant etching by wind-blown sand. Water, elevation, and time.